Okay, so let's see. We got one viewer in the chat. That's great. Michael Clownington in the chat says, "Gotta work, but have fun." Well, thanks. I hope you have fun at work tonight too. Um, so I didn't realize that the song ended so quickly. I still got a few more things, excuse me, to do before we can get started. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pick another song to play, and I will be right back.
Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. You broke our love like I knew you would, but there was something about your smile. I had to be there by your side. In this night with candle lights, you're like the needle in my arms, but there was something about your smile. Gasoline, wrapped in a world of make-believe, 'cause there was something about your smile. I had to be there by your side. Oh, we're in a circle of emotion. There's no running back, we can't leave this place. Oh, and I can barely stay alive, 'cause it's a hard life for us. Nothing I can do about it. And you burned all the bridges to the ground. You left me in a snowstorm where I'm dying. 'Cause it's a hard life, no lies. What can I do about it? Will you lead the way? I'm all alone. So save me from the snowstorm. Carol, we can never look back. We're in the eye of the storm. So where did we go wrong?
Okay, everything should be in order right now. Still only got one viewer in the stream. That's great. And while I was away, I actually got a donation from Bodacious CNO, who tipped $2.18, saying, "At my sister's wedding, we'll catch VOD. Good luck, dude." Well, thank you very much, Boda. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you're having fun at your sister's wedding. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself real quick as I start the intro. Okay, and we are live. Hang on, let me put on some background music really quick. Yeah, I know, I've done 28 streams and I'm never prepared. Let me just see here. Let me find some good... okay, here we go. Maybe this will do. Okay, yeah, I think this will work. I might turn on the audio just a little bit. Okay. So yeah, welcome everybody to Friday Nights with FilmNerd number 28. Yeah, I can't believe I've done this many streams either. So last stream I did was on something kind of fun. which was looking at the god that is Tamers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unfortunately, we're not going to be looking at that again this week, but rest assured I will be doing another Tamer stream at some point, just not in the near future. But tonight I decided, why not look back on a topic I had already kind of touched on some time ago, and take another look at the video nasties list. Now, to kind of refresh people who may not be in the know, the long and short of it was, in the early 80s, the BBFC put out a list of 72 films that they called the video nasties, which were movies that they deemed like obscene, that they basically didn't want anybody to see, regardless of whether you were a kid or an adult. And it was the whole trying to safeguard the children and protect innocent young lives from being corrupted by these heinous movies, even though, again, they're just purely fiction. And I mean, that's a whole other debate. But yeah, last time I discussed this, we got pretty far into looking at the video nasties, so I figured why not continue from where we left off. So I'm going to go into the other display, and I'm going to move this up here. Sorry, my setup's a little janky. But anyway, so we're going to be looking at this list from Bloody Disgusting that I looked at the last time, breaking down all 72 video nasties. And we're going to start off with where I left off last time and look at number 13, which is Cannibal Ferox. And I have to be very careful with showing this image, because it's the images of a woman who gets hooks impaled through her tits, and I'm not sure if I can show that on YouTube. So I'm actually going to switch back over to the scene really quick, scroll down past the image, and go back to Zoom. Perfect. Okay, so Umberto Lenzi's Mean Cannibal Tale was banned in 31 countries and features the seemingly requisite authentic animal brutality that's common in cannibal horror. That alone was enough for the film to be successfully prosecuted and banned on the list, but it also happened to be really violent and gory as well. Even in 2000, it was only allowed to pass with heavy cuts and only available uncut in the US. So yeah, Cannibal Ferox was one of two major cannibal movies that came out in 1980, 1981. This is very much released around the time that Cannibal Holocaust came out, and was trying to ride the coattails of that. Although, funny enough, Umberto Lenzi is kind of credited for starting the cannibal subgenre with a movie from 1972 called Man from Deep River, otherwise known as Savages, which I'm sure will probably be on this list. And compared to Cannibal Holocaust, Ferox is probably a lot sleazier, and there is definitely animal cruelty, to be sure, but it's nowhere near as bad as the animal cruelty in Cannibal Holocaust. But it's still pretty bad, regardless of if it's not as bad or not. But anyway, so let's move on to the next movie on the list, 15, and that will be, oh hey, speaking of, probably one of the most infamous video nasties of all time, Cannibal Holocaust, from director Ruggero Deodato. Let's see. A sort of grandfather to found footage, Ruggero Deodato's formative cannibal horror drew ire and controversy even before it reached the UK. In native Italy, Deodato was arrested on obscenity charges because people believed Cannibal Holocaust was actually a snuff film rather than fictional. Which, kind of adding on to that, what didn't help either is that Deodato basically had told his actors to keep a low profile for about a year after the movie was made, because he wanted to keep that mystique that it was all real, which worked out maybe a little too well for Deodato. And yeah, he actually had to bring the actors into court to prove that he didn't kill them, and had to show off how they did some of the more infamous scenes in the movie. But anyway, he was cleared, but the sexual violence, genuine animal violence, and graphic brutality meant his film was banned in Italy. It didn't stop there, as Deodato's film was banned in numerous countries, so you can bet it was successfully prosecuted and banned in the UK as well. It still never passed fully in the UK, but did receive a more fully intact version in 2011. As of 2012, reportedly the film is still banned in Malaysia, Singapore, Iceland, Germany, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, India, Vietnam, Iran, and New Zealand. Now, I've kind of debated as to whether or not these movies really deserve to be on this list or deserve any of the controversy. But in the case of Cannibal Holocaust, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it probably should have deserved all the controversy, because like even watching it nowadays, because admittedly it's been a few years since I've seen it, but there's a reason I don't watch it very often, is because it's like genuinely that hard to sit through, because it is very effective at being just really, really disturbing. Like, good God, like I can still picture like the turtle scene, or like the scene with the monkey or the pig. Like, it's pretty fucked is all I'll say. Now, whether or not it's a good movie, I mean, that's debatable. I mean, I think in terms of what he was trying to do, Deodato certainly succeeded, but again, the quality is I don't know, it's debatable. But anyway, we've still got a long way to go, so let's move on. Number 16, we got another cannibal movie, The Cannibal Man. And it says here, a Spanish horror about a guy who accidentally kills his cab driver in self-defense, then kills his girlfriend due to being a witness, and then just keeps killing as a domino effect, was surprisingly not really gory at all. The guy worked at a slaughterhouse, which is pretty much the sole source of the film's gore. There's not really any reason for its inclusion on the list other than its inexplicable inclusion of cannibal in the title. Somehow, this one was successfully prosecuted and banned. So I guess it's another classic case of a mismark of false advertising. You know, you go into a movie called The Cannibal Man expecting it to be about a cannibal man, but I guess that's not the case. So yeah, I guess it's safe to say this one probably didn't deserve to be on the list. I mean, I can't say for certain because I've never seen it, but you know, if Bloody Disgusting says it's the case, then I'm willing to take their word for it. And we got another cannibal movie, Cannibal Terror. Let's see. If there's one thing that pretty much guaranteed a spot on the video Nasties, it was having the word cannibal in the film's title. About small-time crooks that botch a kidnapping, hightail through the jungle, one of them rapes a friend's wife, and they're then left to contend with a local cannibal tribe. The plot sounds more offensive than the reality. Borrowing the same exact set as Jess Franco's Cannibals, and even some of the same scenes, there wasn't much that was believable about the final film. The jungle cannibals themselves wear tennis shoes and wedding rings in contradiction to their loincloth costumes. As such, it was never prosecuted and dropped. So I guess this is one of the few cannibal movies that wasn't successfully prosecuted, because that's kind of the thing about the video Nasties, is that even though there's like 72 films on the list, only like 39 of them were successfully prosecuted and the other ones were dropped. So I guess technically there was only like 39 video Nasties, but I guess this doesn't have the same ring to it if you say, like, you know, the 39 video Nasties. You know, it just has a much different ring when you meant to say all 72. Anyway, so the next movie on the list will be Contamination. Oh yeah, aka Alien Contamination. So, reading on, a bit of an Italian alien knockoff that follows mysterious alien pods being delivered, where they then release their lethal acid within and cause nearby victims to explode. The slow-motion explosions were pretty gnarly, while often obvious in its low budget, but in true Italian fashion were extremely bloody, which meant it was destined for the video Nasties. It was dropped and never prosecuted, but that didn't stop the release from being heavily edited. It wasn't until 2004 that it passed uncut in the UK. So there were like a lot of alien knockoffs in the early 80s, and I've even reviewed some of them on my site, namely the two Roger Corman alien knockoffs being Galaxy of Terror and Forbidden World. This is and of course, like a lot of other knockoffs, there were plenty that came out of Italy, and Contamination from Luigi Cozzi was just one of them. Luigi Cozzi is a pretty infamous name when it comes to Italian exploitation, because he also did movies like the Star Wars knockoff Star Crash, the I guess Conan adjacent Hercules movies with Lou Ferrigno, where he like throws a bear into outer space, and he also directed Sinbad, which also had Lou Ferrigno. I haven't seen Contamination, but from the clips I have seen, like you get like these little aliens pods that basically just burst and just explode into like a bunch of green acid that like melts people away. From the clips I've seen, yeah, it's pretty gruesome. So, all right, the next one on the list. Hang on, let me actually check something really quick on Discord, because I'm seeing a notification on here. Yeah, hang on, I'm just checking something just really quick. And also my computer is running like shit. Alright, never mind. Okay, sorry about that. Just something really quick I wanted to check out. Anyway, so the next one on the list is... this is one I actually have seen, Dead and Buried. I'll read the description first, and then I'll give my thoughts. An underrated gem by director Gary Sherman, who also went on to direct Poltergeist 3, which is the last film to feature Heather O'Rourke before she tragically passed away. Set in a small coastline town where the dead have a habit of returning, has stellar effects by master Stan Winston and great atmosphere. It also ended up on the video Nasties. Not for long, though. The film was dropped and never prosecuted, likely because the theatrical version passed with no cuts necessary. That didn't stop the BBFC from chopping out 30 seconds worth from the 1990 release. There's not much here to cause offense, but it is a stellar horror movie nonetheless. And I would absolutely agree with this article. Like, it's been a few years since I've seen Dead and Buried, but it's a really damn good, like, kind of chiller, I guess. Like, it honestly kind of plays more as like a mystery rather than like a straight up horror film. And I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to spoil it, but all I'll say is it has a very like Twilight Zone-esque twist to it, and it's, like I said, it's a really damn good movie. And it's also got an appearance by a then unknown Robert Englund, like years before he went on to play Freddy Krueger. And also, going back to Alien real quick, the writers of Dead and Buried were Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett, who also happen to write Alien, and because of that, they actually put that all over the marketing for the film, like mentioning that it was from the writers of Alien. Admittedly, Dead and Buried, from what I remember, isn't quite as good as the Ridley Scott classic, but Dead and Buried is still worth checking out, I would say. So the next one is Death Trap, also known as Eaten Alive, which was Tobe Hooper's follow-up to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it says in this article, more commonly known as Eaten Alive, Tobe Hooper's follow-up to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a film of which staunch conservative and strong censorship advocate Mary Whitehouse took great offense. It was thanks to her campaign with the National Viewers and Listeners Association that stirred up the prosecutions in the first place. A very loose telling of real-life serial killer Joe Ball, who fed his victims to his pet alligator, Death Trap was unsuccessfully prosecuted. The BBFC still demanded 25 seconds worth of cuts for the 1992 release, and it finally passed uncut in 2000. Now, it's been years since I've seen, I guess for the sake of this stream, we'll just call it Death Trap. But, from what I remember of it, I mean, it's certainly more graphic than Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but then again, the original Chainsaw Massacre has little to no blood in it whatsoever, so that's not saying a whole lot. But I remember this movie actually being alright, and again, it's another early appearance by Robert Englund from what I remember. But this one I just thought was like kind of okay. Like, it's definitely nowhere near as good as his earlier Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Death Trap is still also worth checking out. And hang on, I'm gonna switch back to the scene really quick because I'm just noticing something in Discord because I got a couple notifications. Just real quick. Okay, never mind. It's just okay, I really should disable like notifications from Discord, but it's whatever. Um okay, just make sure. Okay, the mouse is working. All right, so I'll just go ahead and go over to the next page then. Go to Zoom. Let's see, and the next one we got is Deep River Savages, which is yet another Amazon cannibal movie. And oh yeah, this is the one that I was mentioning that Lindsay directed, like before he did Ferox. The film that began the cannibal subgenre of exploitation films, also known as Sacrifice and Man from Deep River, is a true bet for the video Nasties. Directed by Umberto Lenzi, this film saw a lot of cringeworthy animal brutality, like a monkey's head being chopped off and its brains eaten. Lenzi reused scenes from this film for his follow-up cannibal film, Eaten Alive. While the theatrical release was rejected, the video release somehow escaped prosecution and was dropped from the list eventually. It was resubmitted for classification in 2003 and only allowed to pass if it cut the animal cruelty scenes, which, yeah, that's fair. Like, I'm generally against like censorship and like removing parts of films, but if it's a scene involving animal cruelty, yeah, it should be cut out. Like how Grindhouse Releasing put out Cannibal Holocaust on Blu-ray, and they actually included a version that cuts out all the animal violence, which is honestly my preferred way to watch it because, you know, it's horrific. But anyway, so the next film on the list is Delirium, which, again, I can't really say much on because this is a very obscure movie. Even by my standards, it's really obscure. But anyway, when an ex-soldier is hired to be a vigilante, he loses it and targets women instead. While the first half is all-out slasher, the second half switches gears into exploring the shady organization that hired the soldier in the first place. I honestly have no idea why this one was targeted, other than its earlier slasher leanings and its exploitative nature of the Vietnam soldier. Perhaps the BBFC couldn't figure it out either, because it was dropped from the list and no prosecuted. The BBFC passed the film in 1987, featuring a scant 16 seconds of cuts, and it was re-released under the title Psycho Puppet. I don't know. Between that and Delirium, I think I kind of like the term Delirium better. I don't know. Psycho Puppet just sounds a little too ridiculous. But anyway, let's go on to the next list, and I'm going to take a quick drink. Just kind of wet my whistle. Alright, hope everyone's doing alright. So the next one we got is the Devil Hunter. Okay, I was really worried because I was scared that like I was gonna scroll down and the woman in this image is gonna be topless, but thankfully that's not the case. But anyway, a Vietnam vet swoops into an island of cannibals to save a model being held ransom and offered up as sacrifice to a devil god. Director Jess Franco seems to have been trying to cash in on the cannibal craze, which was enough to garner attention from DPP on its own. But in true Franco style, there's a ton of full frontal nudity, and viewers get a little too acquainted with the actors on screen, or at least their bodies. There's also a rape scene, a DPP no-no, thus it was successfully prosecuted and banned until passing uncut in 2008. Yeah, admittedly, so that's like 3 Jess Franco movies, I think, so far that have been on the list. The only one of these I've seen is Bloody Moon, which, yeah, is pretty gruesome, but I don't know if I'd say it's gruesome enough to have ended up, like, on a video Nasties list. But as far as this cannibal movies go, Cannibal Terror and The Devil Hunter, I can't really speak on them because never saw them. But I am certainly curious because after seeing Bloody Moon, I do kind of want to check out Jess Franco's other work. So let's continue. So the next film is one of many don't movies. God damn it. Because yeah, there was a weird thing in like the late 70s to early 80s where a bunch of movies are being retitled with the word don't in the title. And this is one of them, Don't Go in the House. And it reads, Intended to be titled The Burning until another film beat it to the punch, this slasher sees the killer stalking women with a flamethrower due to childhood abuse of being burned by his mother. Owing a lot to Psycho, this one found its way onto the list for graphic nudity and burning of the victims. The childhood trauma also made this a touchy one for the DPP. The film re-released with cuts in 1987 and effectively dropped from the list. It finally saw an uncut UK release in 2011. So, yeah, again, I know I'm a broken record on this, but I can't really comment on this one because I never saw it. But, yeah, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more don't movies on here. So, and speaking of, we got Don't Go in the Woods Alone, which I actually reviewed for my Summer of Slasher series last year. If you want to go check that out, just go to film-nerd.com and search up Don't Go in the Woods, and you should be able to find it. Otherwise simply titled Don't Go in the Woods, a maniac preys on tourists, backpackers, and anyone else that crosses his path. A splatter flick meant to catch the wave of the slasher craze. There's a lot of free-flowing fake blood and a few gnarly kills, like one involving a bear trap. The kill count is high. A lot of actors don't even get a line in before they're offed, which meant that this was ripe for the DPP picking, and was effectively banned until 2007. Now, this movie, I remember it being pretty graphic, but it's also like kind of dull and also a little too goofy. But from what I understand, that was kind of the filmmaker's intent, that this wasn't really meant to be taken seriously. It was meant to be sort of a joke. Like I think I read something about how when the composer turned in the original score for the film, he asked the director if he wanted to take another pass at it, you know, to like tweak it or whatever, and the director said no, we'll use it as is, because again, he wanted this film to be intentionally goofy, and it just ended up being like that. So, but yeah, I mean, this one, I don't know if I'd really say it deserves to be on a Video Nasties list. But anyway, and then we got another Don't movie, Don't Go Near the Park, which, from what I have heard of, this is probably one of the weirdest movies on this list, which is saying a lot. Let's see. A plot that sees a pair of vampires hanging around a park and disemboweling victims sounds like a perfect recipe for the DPP to prosecute. Even with a ton of entrails, the bad special effects likely helped this one get dropped from the list. It was eventually released uncut in 2006, but bad acting and special effects doesn't exactly make this one to seek out, unless you'd like to see an early performance by Linnea Quigley, that is. Which, coincidentally, I actually reviewed a movie that featured a young Linnea Quigley, Fairy Tales from 1978, for my Full Moon Friday series, if you want to check that out. But yeah, this one, from what I have heard of, is very weird. Like, it like starts off in like prehistoric times, and this witch condemns a brother and sister who are getting it on to like live forever, and like the brother ends up becoming like the suave like Casanova who basically lures in women and kills them and like drains their blood basically to like live forever, while the sister has turned into like this old hag who lives near the park, hence the title, and lures in victims to again drain their blood and live forever. But then there's like this weird thing where like, in order for the curse to be lifted, the brother has to like conceive a child. So he marries Linnea Quigley and has a daughter who he plans to sacrifice when she turns 16. But I believe he also wants to like do the nasty with her, which is just ew. But yeah, other than that, I haven't. Oh, and another thing, one of the main actors in the movie does use a pseudonym, and the pseudonym he used, and I wish I was kidding, is Crackers Finn. I'm actually gonna look that up real quick. Hang on. Let me see if I can find find that out. Let's see. Don't go near the park. Let's see. I'm going to the IMDb listing for Don't Go Near the Park. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I got it. Let me go back. Let me switch back to Zoom. Right here. Let me actually zoom in on this so you can see it better. Okay, I might have zoomed in a little too far, but it's okay. Right here, Robert Gribben, who plays Mark. Mark as Crackers Finn. Like, okay, it's one thing to like take on a pseudonym because you don't want your real name to be associated with a movie, but like this dude had to have been fucking around to come up with a name like Crackers Finn. Like, I don't know, that's honestly kind of brilliant in a way. But anyway, I'm gonna switch back over to the list and we'll continue onwards. Let's see. Sorry if the stream is a little slow. I kind of warned people that it was going to be that way. But yeah, I'm just kind of checking Discord really quick just to see what's going on. And again, my computer is running slow as shit. Yeah, it's nothing really is happening. But anyway, so go back to Zoom. And the next one we got is another Don't movie, Don't Look in the Basement. Let's see. Following a murder, a young nurse goes to work at an asylum and finds herself at the mercy of the patients. A slow burn horror film that proves super popular at the drive-in upon its release. There are probably two reasons this was added to the list. Its initial release was as part of a double bill at the drive-in with Last House on the Left, and an unexpectedly violent, savage climax to a rather slow-paced film that spent time making you get to know its characters. With the video release being a heavily cut version of the US cut release, the film was dropped from the list. Once again, I can't speak on this movie too much, but I'm just going to assume it probably didn't deserve to be on this list. But then again, honestly, none of these movies really deserve to be on the list. Oh, and this one we already covered, The Driller Killer. I'll just read the little blurb and then we can move on, because I already talked enough about Driller Killer. Arguably the launching point of the movement behind the video Nasties, and it was solely due to the film's title and video box cover, which I showed off in my last stream. Abel Ferrara's directorial debut followed a New York artist struggling to make ends meet, eventually takes his frustration out on the homeless. It's more art house thriller than horror, and isn't nearly as violent as the cover box and title would suggest, but as the poster child of the video Nasties, it was successfully prosecuted. The film, almost single-handedly responsible for the video Nasties, was finally passed and released uncut in the UK in 2002. And I think the film is like even in the public domain now, so it's pretty readily available if you ever want to watch it. And then the next up is The Evil Dead, which, again, I've already talked at length about this movie, so I'll just read the paragraph and then just move on. Sam Raimi's classic film was a notorious video nasty because it was the year's best-selling release and one that failed to successfully land its prosecution, but boy did they try. Perhaps it was Raimi's unapologetic approach to the gore, but maybe it was really the infamous tree rape scene. Either way, the failed convictions, all 40 prosecutions from across the UK, meant The Evil Dead was dropped from the list. It was eventually passed uncut in 2001. Groovy. Yeah, I did my man Bruce bad with that. So let's move on to the next one, Evil Speak. Evil Speak is one that I've been meaning to check out. From what I understand, it's basically a demonic possession film, but like the main character is possessed by the devil through like computers, and he basically uses his new demonic powers to like get revenge on his classmate. It's basically like Carrie, but instead of a high school, it's like a military school. Anyway, Clint Howard, who's the younger brother of director Ron Howard, plays a victim of bullying at a military academy, then enacts violent revenge when he stumbles upon a book of black magic. The dog death is upsetting, and one that Howard himself still draws upon when needing to emote sadness on camera. But it's the gore and nudity during the pig death that landed this on the banned and prosecuted section of the video Nasties. The film was eventually passed in 2004. So I have not seen this movie, but judging by what they discussed in this paragraph, I'm gonna bet that it may have deserved to be on the list. Though I'm sure a large part of it is just the fact that it deals in like, Satanism and black magic and all that good shit. So moving on, the next movie on the list is Exposed, otherwise known as Trauma and the House on Straw Hill. Udo Kier stars as a novelist renting a quiet house to finish his current work in progress. The housekeeper he hires turns out to be the wife of a man who killed himself over the novelist stealing his manuscript. It's lurid and sexual, and the rape scene drew particular ire, making this film effectively prosecuted and banned. It was released with cuts in 1987, but hasn't been resubmitted since. The US released the film uncut in 2013. Again, I can't really speak on this one, so I'm just going to move on. So the next one we got is Faces of Death, which is another pretty infamous exploitation film. The long and short of it, for those of you who don't know, is it's basically like a compilation movie of a bunch of like supposedly real like death scenes. And from what I understand, because I've only seen clips of Face of Death, it's a mix of like real death scenes and staged death scenes. But I guess there are a lot of people who are fooled by it and have just always assumed that it was a snuff film when it technically wasn't. But anyway, a fake exploitation film passed off as a documentary that collects a series of death scenes. It was still effective even when you can spot some of the faked scenes, which meant it was prime pickings for the DPP. Surprise, surprise, it was banned and prosecuted. A trimmed version was released in 2003, but available uncut in the US, and I believe this actually did get like several sequels, which all of them had increasingly more and more real death scenes. So, but yeah, again, I can't speak too much on Face of Death because I haven't seen it, but from what I've heard, it is like the fake scenes are really fake, but the real scenes are pretty effective. And we actually just got a donation for $5 from GG Anime, who says, "Another Friday stuck at work, take my money and have a great weekend, brethren." Well, thank you, GG Anime. I will certainly take your money and hope you have a great weekend too. Much appreciated, as a certain internet individual would say. Which I'm still praying that he does make his big comeback. But anyway, oh yeah, this is one I'm pretty sure I already discussed, Flesh for Frankenstein. So I'll just read through the paragraph. Well, first let me take a drink, and then I'll read through the paragraph, and then we'll move on. So, produced by Andy Warhol and originally shot in 3D, this campy horror sees Udo Kier as Dr. Frankenstein looking to create a master race. His character also happens to be in an incestuous relationship with his sister and bears a strong affection for necrophilia. Oh, and it's pretty gory. All of this spelled a perfect recipe for the DPP to prosecute. I suppose they didn't appreciate the humor. The film eventually passed with cuts in 1996 before being released fully uncut in 2006. Strangely, Warhol's even gorier sister film, Blood for Dracula, was never pursued. Which, that is something I do find really weird, is that this movie got on the Video Nasties list, but not Blood for Dracula. And actually, because they were mentioning the humor in this article, let me actually look up, because there's a pretty infamous clip from Flesh for Frankenstein that I kind of wanted to show. Flesh for... Okay, yeah, I found the clip. So I'm just gonna pause the music really quick and play this clip because it's pretty funny, but like intentionally funny, obviously. So let me go to Zoom. All right, the video should be on screen, and I guess I'll just go in full screen, even though it's like a very short clip.
To know death, Otto, you have to fuck life in the gallbladder.
Yes, he actually says, in order to know life, you have to fuck death in the gallbladder. Just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful stuff. and I'm most likely going to get a copyright claim for playing that clip. But, I mean, these streams are monetized anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So, I'm going to move on to the next one on the list. And hope everyone's doing well tonight. So, we got Fight for Your Life, which I think I might have talked about in my last stream. So, I'll just kind of go over this really quick and then move on. 3 escaped convicts escape jail and wreak havoc on the family with which they've taken refuge. Sound familiar? If the plot stopped there, it would borrow heavily from Last House on the Left. But it doesn't stop there. It gets meaner and spends a heavy focus on racism. There's also attempted rape and the bludgeoning of a child. This one was rejected from theatrical release, and video release was of course banned and prosecuted. It's still without UK re-release. I think it is available on DVD in the States, but unfortunately it'll never get a Blu-ray release because I believe the original negatives that were used for the DVD were lost. So, and I think that DVD is really hard to come by now. So, you know, unless you can find it for a good price on eBay, I guess you're kind of fucked. So the next one we got is Forest of Fear, otherwise known as Blood Eaters and Toxic Zombies. So, Charles McCrann's only acting, writing, producing, editing, and directing credit can be attributed to this video nasty, also known as Toxic Zombies. If you guessed this was a zombie film caused by poisonous gas used on drug fields, you'd be correct. The amount of gore alone is likely what landed this on the list, though it wasn't ever prosecuted. Yeah, let's see, who wrote this? Megan Navarro. Yeah, you probably should have proofread this. It wasn't ever prosecuted. Even still, it was never resubmitted for classification, therefore remains unavailable in the UK. Sadly, this is one likely to remain unavailable, as McCrann eventually left behind his passion for horror and became a businessman. He died in his office in the World Trade Center during the attack on September 11th, 2001. Wow, that is very tragic, I have to say. Like, wow. I don't even know what to say to that. So I guess we'll just move on to the next one and just kind of put that off to the side. So next up we've got Frozen Scream, which is a movie I'm unfamiliar with. Mad university scientists experiment with cryogenics on their students, turning them into frozen zombies. The plot sounds a lot cooler, pun intended, than it really is, thanks to terrible acting and low-budget cheesy effects. There's not much in the way of gore either, but the scene that features a stabbing of the eye may be what landed this one on the list. It was dropped from the list and never prosecuted, but it never saw a re-release either. Which, I don't know, that always just kind of amused me a bit when these movies, like, you know, like end up getting put on the list and, you know, taken to court, like for like they try to prosecute them, but they never do, and then they're dropped from the list, but then they're never given another release. I don't know, just something kind of funny about that to me. Alright, hope everyone's doing well tonight. And then next we got, another one that I've already talked about, The Funhouse, which is a movie that I still definitely don't think deserved to be on this list because it really isn't that graphic at all. But anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna read through this real quick and then we'll move on. Tobe Hooper's second film to grace the video Nasties. It's pretty tame in comparison to pretty much the entire rest of the list. An underrated classic that sees a group of teens slowly picked off one by one when they sneak into a carnival funhouse for the night. There's not much in the way of gore or even nudity. As such, it's been widely speculated that perhaps this was a massive mistake. Exploitation snuff film, Last House on Dead End Street, also known as The Funhouse. The latter never even made it to the list, besides being far more appropriate fare, hence the theory that the wrong Funhouse title made it. Hooper's film was dropped from the list and released uncut as quick as 1987. If you want to know more about the Tobe Hooper Funhouse, you can check out my review for it on film-nerd.com, which I did last year for my original Summer of Slashers, which there will be another one coming out fairly soon. I haven't decided what movie it'll be yet, but it'll most likely close out this year's Summer of Slashers series. And then next we got The Gestapo's Last Orgy, which I feel like I might have covered before, but if not, then let me know. All two people who are watching right now. As if the title alone wasn't indicative enough, this prisoner of war Nazi exploitation features a prison camp that also functions as a bordello. There are scenes of violence, but it's the sex combined with the violence that landed the film on the list. I'm sure the title alone was enough to catch the DPP's attention. Even with 11 minutes trimmed, the movie was still prosecuted and banned. It's still not been re-released. But yeah, my favorite thing about this movie is that one of its alternate titles is literally Caligula reincarnated as Hitler. Even though, from what I understand, Hitler himself is nowhere in this movie. And it's just even funnier. I don't know, it's just funnier that they try to lump a Nazi exploitation movie with Caligula, of all things. And certain speculation to the chat says, I just got off work, happy Friday. Hey, great to hear that, Star. I hope you had a good day at work, and I hope your Friday's been going well for you. But anyway, let's move on to the next film on the list. I think we're about halfway through this list, so it won't be too much longer now. So next up we got The House by the Cemetery, which, again, sorry if I already said this, but I feel like I might have covered this one before, but if not, I'll go a little bit more into this, because this one I've actually seen. Italian gore master Lucio Fulci found himself with another film in contention with the DPP, this time over poker stabbings, decapitations, and throat slashings. The plot itself, in which a family moves into a house that's still home to the experiments of Dr. Freudstein, takes a back seat to the gore. But that's not why we love Fulci so much anyway, right? Even though the home release shared the same cuts of the theatrical version, the video was still prosecuted and banned. The film went through 3 different passes through the BBFC, each one granted certification with cuts, until the final uncut release in 2009. So House by the Cemetery is actually the third in what Fulci calls his Gates of Hell trilogy, the first one being City of the Living Dead, and the second one being The Beyond. House by the Cemetery, it's been years since I've seen it, but like a lot of Fulci's movies, I remember this one being very effectively creepy and insanely gory. I mean, by looking at this still shot right here, you can tell that this one really goes for the jugular, no pun intended. But yeah, I would say, for anybody who wants to check out Fulci's work, which I would highly recommend, especially if you consider yourself a horror fan, I would say a good one to start with would be Fulci's Zombie. And then after that, probably The Beyond, which, personally, The Beyond is my favorite Fulci film, but I think Zombie would be a better, jumping off point for anybody interested in Fulci films. So the next one on the list is, we got... Oh, the GIF is no longer... Whoops. Oh, well. So now we got House on the Edge of the Park, which is another film from Ruggero Deodato, which was... I believe this actually came out the same year as Cannibal Holocaust. So, another Last House on the Left knockoff, this time from Cannibal Holocaust director Ruggero Deodato, sees a crazed rapist crash a snotty rich kid party. Chaos ensues. That it's essentially borrowing from Last House on the Left would be enough to draw the ire from the DPP, but in true Deodato fashion, this one manages to be much nastier and sleazier than the film it's trying to emulate. Even Deodato found the script extremely violent. Not only was the theatrical release rejected, but House on the Edge of the Park was prosecuted and banned. The BBFC finally passed the film in 2002, but only after nearly 12 minutes had been cut. What's interesting actually about House on the Edge of the Park is not only is it kind of, from what this article is saying, a Last House on the Left knockoff, but it even features the main villain from Last House on the Left, David Hess, as the main villain of the movie. So, it's like not only did they rip it off, but they even used one of the same actors. This is one I've actually been meaning to check out for a while, and I actually got the Blu-ray of it from Severin Films back when I got my my summer sale package, which you can check that video out on my channel. But yeah, I've been meaning to check out this one for a while. So the next one we got is Human Experiments, which damn it, I like how on this poster, they even like have Video Nasty on there, as if they're like proud of the fact that it was a Video Nasty. Which, I mean, to be fair, a lot of exploitation movies would do stuff like that to like promote their film. Like, if it got any kind of controversy, they would try to like push that on audiences, like, you know, see the movie that Hollywood doesn't want you to see or whatever. So, a prison exploitation movie that featured a demented doctor performing shock therapy on the inmates, featured a lot of female nudity, which not a shock given the poster here, as well as typical of women in prison movies. Not gory at all, and not exactly the most coherent in storytelling. It doesn't even bother to end. This was hardly the offensive movie you'd expect based on the title, and it was the title that landed this in the DPP crosshairs, though the film was dropped from the list eventually. And I'm looking at the cast right here. We got Linda Haynes, Jeffrey Lewis, Ellen Travolta. I'm assuming that's John Travolta's less famous sister, Aldo Ray, and Jackie Coogan. So, yeah. I can't imagine why this film like slipped under the radar for so many people. So the next one we got here is I Miss You, Hugs and Kisses. Huh. That's an interesting title. Let's see. Also known as Drop Dead Dearest, this Video Nasty might actually be based on the murder trial of Peter Demeter. I hope I said that right. The film's plot sees a husband the number one suspect in his wife's murder, with her death being played out in a number of ways in incoherent flashbacks. Even though the deaths feature things like the wife getting her head bashed in or being electrocuted in the swimming pool, it's more than likely the tagline on the cover box that landed this one in the DPP hot seat. For those who like their sex with a lot of violence, triggers the biggest pet peeve of the BBFC, perhaps outside of animal cruelty, which is sexual violence. It only stayed in the Video Nasties for a small period before it was dropped. Yeah, I gotta be honest, prior to this list, I don't think I'd ever even heard of this title before, but I gotta be honest, part of me does kind of want to see a movie called I Miss You, Hugs and Kisses. Even though, by that title, it sounds more like a stereotypical Hallmark original movie than like something that would end up on the Video Nasties list. But, I don't know, I do kind of love that that tagline. I mean, that does again sound like something that a lot of exploitation filmmakers would do to like promote their movies, would be to like come up with a really salacious tagline to like sell it to people. But anyway, let's move on. What have I been going for now? About 55 minutes. I think this might be the last one I cover for this stream, and then we'll just pick this up later. But next we got Inferno, which was a Dario Argento movie, his follow-up actually to Suspiria, which that movie, like, even though I'm more of a Fulci guy, Suspiria holds a very special place in my heart, because that was actually the first Italian horror movie I had ever seen on the Fox movie channel of all things, which is really weird to think of. But it's a great movie, and I'm sure Inferno is just as good. So, Dario Argento's follow-up to Suspiria about an American college student in Rome that investigates a series of murders by covens of witches offended the censors for a strange reason. They hated the scene of a cat eating a mouse. Huh. Well, okay then. The BBFC felt this was in conflict with the Cruelty to Animals Act. Once the scene was trimmed, Inferno was dropped from the list and not prosecuted. The uncut version was passed in 2010. So that's a pretty petty reason to like have them want the movie banned, is if it features a scene of a cat eating a mouse. Like, I mean, unless it was like staged or whatever, like they I don't know, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. Like if they forced the cat to eat the mouse, or they like forced the mouse to like be with the cat or whatever, then that'd be one thing. But I don't know, it's just still really silly to me that of all things to ban a movie for, that was it. But yeah, it looks like been going on for about 57 minutes, which is just slightly under my usual time frame. And there's not really a lot of people in the stream right now, so I think I might just go ahead and call it here. But yeah, I did, you know, even if this stream was kind of dull, I still enjoy just being able to talk about these kinds of movies and just seeing how bizarre they are, and just again showing that the British back in the 80s just really had nothing better to do, honestly, than just find all these random movies and just say, oh good heavens, no, you cannot watch this film, it is repulsive. Ugh. I don't know, it's just, I don't know, stuff like that just will never cease to amuse me. So anyway, let me go ahead and just promote my usual shit. Let's see. Okay, so the first thing I've got, of course, is the website, film-nerd.com, going on for about a little over 4 years now, which is crazy to think, but let's go over some of my latest reviews. The most recent review I put up was for the 1978 Fairy Tales, which is another adult musical based on, fairy tales, which is still a weird thing to me that was a MIDI trend in the 70s, but what are you gonna do? But that's the most recent Full Moon Friday's release. And then prior to that, I reviewed the movie Madman, which is one of my favorite underrated slasher films of the early 80s, and definitely one I would highly recommend checking out. And I think the music stopped. Yeah, it did. Okay. I'll just put on some quick little background music just so it's not completely silent. But yeah, I did Madman for the Summer of Slashers, and like I alluded to earlier, I should have another one out at least before the end of the month. And then before that, I did a review for the new Idris Elba movie Beast, which it was alright. I mean, it could have been better, but for what it is, I mean, it's Idris Elba going up against a lion. You can't really go wrong with that. And then the last Summer of Slashers review I did prior to Madman was on the Fulci film, The New York Ripper, which is pretty gruesome. That's all I'll say. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. I can tell you that. And then we got the most recent Trauma Tuesdays review, which is for the 2019 just insane splatter film Mutant Blast, which I would honestly really recommend because it was a lot of fun. And then the Summer Slashers review I did prior to New York Ripper was on the surprisingly feminist slasher film, The Slumber Party Massacre, which is a lot of fun, and definitely one I would recommend checking out for anybody who hasn't seen it. But yeah, I've got tons of movie reviews. I reviewed everything from new releases to classic films to cult films and everything in between. Of course, I got the Patreon. You can sign up for these tiers. I've got the merch store with the same 3 products as before, yada yada yada. You all know that stuff. And of course, I got the socials in the description. And also, just real quick, so these stills that I have on screen right now, I've been using them for a little over a year now, and they've worked pretty well for me for the most part. But I've also been considering getting some new stills made, just because as great as these are, and as thankful as I am to Sir Perry if he ever ends up watching this, for designing these stills, I don't know, I'm just thinking about maybe getting some new ones made, just kind of spice it up a little bit. So if there's any artists out there who might be interested in taking a crack at it, please reach out to me. You can either email me at info@film-nerd.com, or you can message me on Facebook or Twitter, or go to my Discord and just hit me up. Show me some of your past work and let me know what your commission rate is, and we'll just kind of go from there. But yeah, I think it's going to do it for tonight's stream. Thank you to everybody who came out and watched this. As always, it's greatly appreciated. And thanks to those of you who donated to the stream. That's, very poggers, as the kids say. But yeah, I think that's going to close up tonight's stream. I'm just going to pull up the song really quick. But yeah, until then. But yeah, as always, I'll have some more reviews and some more videos coming out very soon. But until then, I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.